Welcome to the Omni Talk Spotlight series. I'm your host, Anne Mezzenga, one of the founders of Omni Talk, a content platform dedicated to researching and talking to the people, the companies, and the technologies that are shaping the future of retail. Today, I'm thrilled to have with us on the show, Indrek Oolup, co-founder and CEO of Cleveron, Inc. Indrek, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hello, Anne, and doing well.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Well, we're really excited to have you today. For those of you joining us live in the LinkedIn event, the team from Cleveron and Indrek and I will all be answering your questions live in the chat. So you can go ahead and put those in the chat field just to the right of the screen, and we'll be able to follow up with you if we don't get to those questions during the chat at the end by somebody on the Cleveron team. Now, Indrek, take us to the beginning of this now. I mean, lockers have been around for, I think, much longer than we in the US realize. I'd love to get a little bit of your background and kind of the start of Cleveron, because it's such a unique story.
Back in 2006, and at that moment, basically, the team came together under one of the biggest e-retailers in the area, in our area here. And we came together as a logistics department for that e-retailer.
And where are you based? Tell people where you're based.
We are based in Estonia.
Okay.
And this is in Northern Europe here, next to Finland, Russia, and Sweden here.
This e-retailer came to you and needed help, or what was the story there? Like, give me the background.
This e-retailer in particular was my customer for many years.
Okay.
And but unfortunately, we were not able to provide them the service model that they were looking for in the end of the day. So, but fortunately for me, that e-retailer liked my kind of input to their activities, and then they asked me to join their team to start establishing independent delivery network for that e-retailer. But that particular retailer was selling cumbersome goods or furniture or home improvement goods. And
okay.
So that, let's say, first task or let's say challenge for us was this as a logistics department was to put together a two-man courier team network across Estonia to deliver cumbersome items to the home addresses of the consumers. And another feature was required that delivery times to be agreed with in advance with the customers with a precision of half an hour.
Wow.
So at the time back in 2006, but that task was basically, everybody told us that are you nuts, basically. No?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's hard to do now in 2021. I feel like to get people that precise of a timeline, even retailers are still struggling with that. So how did you come up with the solution? You obviously found one. How did that happen?
We set up a quite kind of wholesome IT infrastructure, which enabled us to communicate and pre-agree all the delivery times. And based on that, we had a routing took place based on that pre-info, and we were able to very cost efficiently run and manage that network.
So at this point, you're still doing couriers. This is not a centralized fulfillment location. This is still, you took this project on weeks before the holidays, and you're still figuring out how to get all of these parcels to people's homes, large parcels, I might add, too, home furnishing items, not small toys and things. You're still trying to figure out how to do this and get it directly to people's homes. Is that right?
Yeah, that operation still is ongoing. But
okay.
Is that particular project was the first project, the kind of development project for the core team of today's Cleveron. Right after we succeeded in that initiative, then a year later, actually, we started to get inquiries also from competition, even other retailers asking us that you were able to put in place such a high quality, let's say, service network. Can we start buying that service as well? First of all, But secondly, also that at that point, year later, basically they decided to ask that. But on top of that, also could you also think about, as you have a capable team together, could you start thinking about also by setting up some new, more let's say innovative delivery format also for small parcels? And that was the moment, like the summer 2007, then when we basically first got in touch with, let's say, idea of potentially starting to use lockers. And then after the first year operations, we got to the level already where we had overflow of volume 2 times the capacity that we had in lockers.
How did that locker system then and this logistics component of the business, because I think we know the audience probably knows Cleveron from the locker perspective, like your locker solutions that you've had in Albertsons, Walmart, and others. But tell me a little bit how that has evolved from 2009 to the systems that we're seeing today.
Most of our locations in US today, they are using already robots. So there we have let's say robot unit is a bit different in principle. So those we call parcel robots, basically, not lockers anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so explain that evolution. I mean, clearly it sounds like you were seeing an overwhelming response to your early solutions and you needed to kind of keep evolving, leveraging your logistics background. How did that happen?
We looked around in our room and in our team, and so we have all the basic inputs present. IT, software, design, logistics operations. So if nothing else, then just for fun, let's try to put together a first prototype. And we succeeded to put together a first prototype in 2 months in 2007 summer. Kind of the starting point of going into this business where we are today.
And what kind of products are we talking about here? Like, what kind of, is this like all kinds of product shapes and sizes? Like you mentioned we're still using a locker system. Like how, can you explain a little bit about what kind of retailers maybe or industries you were working with at that point?
At the time, this sector was dominated by these very traditional old mail order catalogs.
Okay. But products of all kinds. So not just home furnishings.
And at that point, basically dominated kind of companies were they were from Sweden, Finland, or Germany. And they were the companies who were dominating this market here. And they were the ones selling basically from clothing to home appliances to shoes, everything.
That's a lot of different product categories to store. I mean, how did you get to the point where now we're talking about like kiosks and things and adding robotic, sorting and fulfillment here?
In 2008 during the summer was traditional lockers, like having a locker bank with compartments of different sizes.
Right.
And at the time, naturally, that was a kind of one aspect or a topic that we basically made many trial and error attempts basically to match the size profile of different customers' parcel volume, But nevertheless, we exceeded in it quite well, and it took some juggling. But nevertheless, starting from January 2009, we were confident enough to start claiming. We opened up our whole country covering locker bank network with a public service offering to the whole public.
And who are the kinds of clients that you're working with now, Indrek? Like what are the kinds of companies and solutions that you're putting out there?
Most of the customers are retailers who are naturally all across the world. Basically, everybody cannot ignore the need to have a, let's say, instead of just pure brick and mortar, everybody is in some sense involved in this omni-channel type of strategies.
There's something really unique that you mentioned to me about how you're working with small businesses and even consumer to consumer transactions, passing parcels back and forth, say from like, what we might equate to in the US is like an eBay sale or a Facebook marketplace sale. You're leveraging lockers in a new way that allows small businesses, especially, to kind of save some money on logistics here. Explain how you're using the lockers in that way, both for consumer to consumer transactions and then also for small business to consumer transactions and the benefits there.
Service is so well accessible and so with such ease, then that has created that has gave boost basically to the boom of small and medium-sized e-retailers, because even for the smallest type of e-retailer, mom and shop, pop shop, selling knitted socks, for example,
right,
some making them in some small handicraft workshop in some rural small village. Even they have a so easy access to the delivery service, so that even they are now confidently have those type of companies have had the confidence to open up their websites and start selling them online, with a confident service promise that whatever you order today, you can receive it, tomorrow.
It's removing that huge hurdle for small businesses of shipping costs and their ability to compete, in the US, particularly with Amazon. I mean, this is really allowing them to kind of take that line item out and reduce it significantly compared to, what they'd have to do to provide that offering to their customers here.
Yes. So the numbers are that in Estonia also, when we started back in 2009, we started, and then 3 years later, once the network and delivery method had become already very popular in the market, then during those 3 years, the SME e-retail sector and the companies in that active in that sector grew 10 times basically.
Wow!
And as the association in that field acknowledged us, that largely thanks to our initiatives at that time. But that has now that same trend has taken place in other, let's say, very locker popular countries like Poland, Finland, Hungary, etc.
When can we get this in the US? I mean, can you start building this network? I mean, I
you are
imagine
all able
there's
to help us in that. we just pull up our sleeves and start to work. We're ready to work.
Well, I sure hope so. I mean, I know that the US is a little bit more expansive. We don't have as probably a simple a task of doing that. But I think, especially in these urban cores, I mean, I think of the big cities that you are seeing that, even the 15-minute delivery pilots right now. I mean, I think in those urban cores, something like this could be so successful for, I think, retailers that have otherwise, had to throw in the towel because it's just almost impossible to compete at that speed with others in the marketplace. So I'm crossing my fingers, Indrek. I want to have that in Minneapolis. I think that would be fantastic.
But then, and the other that you referred to was this C2C sending, yeah,
right.
So and if you take different types of parcel delivery, parcel volumes like B2C, C2B, like returns, B2B, but then the most let's say biggest share of in different countries has become out of the total volume has become C2C actually. And in more specifically, the ability for ordinary people from the street basically to start sending between the locker stations. And the most popular it has become in particular has become for auction site traders. You win a transaction,
right.
Then you usually have an ability to choose a delivery method, and then agreeing that delivery method with a sender, that the person who sold that item,
right.
What is the most convenient service point where he needs to go. Is it FedEx, or is it a local post, or whatever? If you have a locker bank network alongside with your auction site operations, then both people from sender and receiver both need to make an equal effort.
Right.
Because they need to just both go to the locker station. One needs to use the PIN code to send, the other one needs to use the PIN code to receive item. That's all. And the only thing that they have to remember to tell each other is that what is the closest grocery shop where they go fetch the beer,
Right. And I think that just paints such an interesting picture of where we're headed, especially, from consumer to consumer transactions and even small business to consumer transactions, and how those are all going to take place, how the delivery and fulfillment methods will continue to be disrupted. If you look back and you're thinking about all that you've learned, I mean, what are you telling the retailers that you're working with now?
The need for consumers to kind of how much they appreciate actually their time.
Right.
That they are very often in very, very old traditional markets. People are used to, I've been ordering home delivery my whole life. Well, that's the most convenient because it comes to the closest to me, in a way. That's the perception. But then once you start to argue with them and bring forth arguments but all in all, how much you are really actually spending on that delivery method.
Right.
How much your own time you are actually planning and sitting idly at home waiting for a courier, and how much actually other hassle that it takes to kind of wait for a courier or agree as meeting time in some countries even. So lockers which are usually installed at retail spots. And what is the most frequent and regular activity that people are doing their own personal time? They do their everyday groceries, Right. So, and if you have a chance to pick up your, let's say, online order also in seconds, let's say, on the go while you're doing your everyday, picking up your everyday milk and bread or beer, then they start realizing, hey, for home deliveries, actually, they are spending hour. For manual, let's say, post office pickup, they spend 15 minutes in average. But then once the lockers have been introduced, then they realize parcel can be picked up in 10 seconds.
I love what you said there, because I think that it draws this very clear delineation as we get into this omni-channel, fulfillment discussion of, it's not, getting something delivered to my house is not the only option. That is not by any means, in some cases, the most convenient option, like you said, because of the time that you're waiting. And especially when we start talking about perishables and things like groceries. And I'd love to dig into the pilot that you did with Albertsons owned Jewel-Osco and the Cleveron 501 robotic solution. I interviewed Chris Rupp, the Chief Digital Officer of Albertsons, a few months ago. And what really struck me about my conversation with her and this initiative was that they were doing exactly what you just said. They wanted to make sure that families had the opportunity to get things on the schedule that would be the most convenient for them, that they were going to be trying multiple platforms for getting products to customers so that the customers have that option. And I think if you could explain kind of this pilot with the Jewel-Osco location and how that's going, what the responses have been like from customers that have been using that so far.
All the customers who have taken have used that machine and our machine at that particular location, they have really come to realization that really this transaction, which used to take time and quite many minutes at least in minimum, that really can happen in 20 seconds.
Take our listeners through that interaction. Like, how does it work? It's not the curbside pickup that we know through the pandemic. This is much faster, much more efficient. Tell us how it works.
It sits next to the store so that people who are, let's say, due to their lifestyle, basically are in a rush back after the work, we are hurrying back to either to home or kindergarten, for example. They are able to choose a delivery method after ordering online. They're able to choose the pickup station or kiosk as Albertsons is or Jewel-Osco is calling it in their shopping cart. And there they receive a pickup code. They go to and there we have a unit which has let's say has two temperature zones. One is chilled zone and the other one is frozen zone. So in case you order different types of foods, those different goods are placed in different totes. The different totes are put in particular zones inside the machine. And once the person comes to and inserts the pickup code, then at the machine, she or he will be receiving that the totes will be brought to the front of the machine, and they are being the person is able to one by one take out the goods from the totes one by one and place them directly to the car.
And that happens in a matter of seconds, right? I mean, we're not talking.
Yes.
I pull into the parking lot. I'm waiting for 15 minutes until I'm next in the queue. Then I get my groceries. This is like I put my card in or my code up, and we're talking a minute maybe max, right?
Per tote it takes some 13 seconds, so to speak. So in case you have a cumbersome goods, which in some cases in US the order is the average is like a 5 to 6 totes even. Then it really takes maybe a minute for you.
Unreal. I'm so excited to try that. And we're gearing up for grocery shop next week. We're getting all of you in the audience today who are listening live. We get a pre-grocery shop exclusive here because Indrek, I hear you're going to be launching a new grocery locker in early 2022. Can you tell us a little bit about this new product that's coming out?
Customers all over the world, they have asked us to have a bit lower capacity, let's say, product also from us, which would be more cost efficient as well to start. So or in some cases, customers, they want to reach high capillarity of locations very fast to ensure, to enhance the, introduction of their omnichannel strategies. So in that particular case, for that to answer that demand, that we are coming forth with this grocery locker, which will be also having different temperature-controlled locker compartments.
And how big will these be in comparison to the 501 robotic solution that we talked about at Jewel-Osco?
These can be starting from 6 compartments up to 100, because locker banks usually are built up in a way that they are modular, so you can add up the locker columns. But the fact is that particular, those units that are designed for groceries and having inside this they are mixed with refrigeration technology. Then there's a certain point from where on, it becomes a question whether you should keep adding additional locker columns to your locker bank system, or you should start already considering either to switch over to robotics.
So this new grocery locker that will be coming out, temperature controlled, not leveraging the robotics that the 501 solution is using, but then it allows for more flexibility, we'll say. So retailers have the ability to build up or build down depending on what their footprint is and what their demand is at the time.
It's more affordable and makes the starting off your omni-channel grocery delivery operations, in a from the more affordable level and more easier. Yeah.
Indrek, it's clear from this conversation that Cleveron has been able to adapt to just about any needs, very large, unbelievable feats at times from the early starting days in 2006, all the way through to this example right now of, providing locker solutions for some smaller and independent retailers who maybe just want to get to try this out.
Companies start to realize during the pandemic now that actually in today's world, there are technologies available by using which they can very often start servicing their loyal or regular customers who have who don't have a need to kind of personal, approach. But
right.
For example, I don't know, builders or repair people,
Right.
They go to the particular, service or vendor who provides them regularly, nuts and bolts, for example, or professional tools. And they have very regular partners for that, where they go. And those people who are now, regular users, they are not, companies realize they don't need to start forcing those people to come inside, actually.
Right.
they need to establish new kind of operational, let's say, rules and methods, whereby which they know that particular person is now working on that building, which is, requires that type of material. Then they can be left, that material can be, or these or tools can be left outside the service, let's say, company's door in the front of the building. And then more time is left inside let's say, this company to service people who are actually, let's say, new, who require more guidance, more instructions, and more, let's say, sales talk, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
And more attention. So, and that was another kind of angle that the company started to kind of push and work on and enhance. And in the outcome, I believe, even if the pandemic passes, now servicing, let's say, becomes more fluent and more smoother.
Well, it's a behavior that we've all, it's a behavior that the customers have all gotten used to over the pandemic too. I mean, the flexibility of being able to, I know what I need. I'm going to order this ahead of time. I don't need to have an interaction with somebody. I want to be able to go, and maybe that's, maybe my hours are different because I'm working from home, or, because of the pandemic, and I can pick that up 24 hours a day if I need to. I'm not limited to just the hours that the store is open.
If I'm going to leave my shoes in a repair shop,
right?
No, to go a day later to pick them up. Why would I need to go inside that store? And why would I need to hassle and stand in line while the shoe repairman actually is now consulting and talking with another customer?
Right?
So, even though it's seconds, but that. It's always this time of about the time that if you don't know how much time you are gonna now stand there, even if it's in the end of the day will be seconds only, or let's say 1 minute, still, while you don't know how much you're gonna, that's the angle where you're gonna be most frustrated.
Right. So, there's a value to customers' time, and that value determines where the customers are going to go and continue to shop time and time again. Well, Indrek, it's clear from this conversation that automated fulfillment, pickup lockers, grocery lockers, since we specifically are heading into grocery shop, pretty much everything that Cleveron is involved in doing right now is here to stay. What's next for the company? What are you guys looking at? What's on your radar for the next couple of years?
This sector is still in the early stages, and there's a long way to go. But looking more in a different vertical, then I would say that this, if we now have been ourselves been dealing only with, let's say, stationary, the solutions or products, then definitely we see great potential and already increasing demand to start connecting these stationary dots with self-driving technology. And that's the new area where we have actually already been investing time and focus for last 5 years, and we see that's where we are gonna be present quite heavily as well, and in the even more longer, let's say, scale, these two types of technologies will start to interact with each other.
Indrek, this was such a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your story throughout the last 4 years, creating Cleveron, and all that you're up to right now. If people want to get in touch with you to learn more, and I'd encourage, as Indrek mentioned, it's not just the large retailers out there. It's also some of these regional players, the grocers, especially, who are looking to just test this out. This is a very flexible model that can be done on a smaller scale and building up into a bigger, 501 Jewel-Osco kiosk with robotics. So, Indrek, where should they go to reach out to you and get some of those questions answered?
Our website or our LinkedIn account page.
And that's Cleveron.com.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cleveron.com, or find you on LinkedIn. Yes. That was wonderful. I'd also just send a reminder to those of you listening. Cleveron is going to be one of the sponsors of all of the content that we have coming up for Grocery Shop next week. There is a ton that we have coming up. You won't want to miss it. So if you're not already, make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter and content at omnitalk.blog/subscribe, and look for all of the work that we have coming out next week. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Indrek Oolup, co-founder and CEO of Cleveron.inc. And please, everyone, be careful out there.